A superstitious pregnant teen leaves for California with her aspiring musician boyfriend. After seeing a sign of bad luck, she finds herself abandoned and stranded at Walmart. After her delivery and seemingly nowhere to go, she meets a couple of kind-hearted locals who show her the true meaning of family. One morning in Tennessee, Novalee, a pregnant teen, prepares to leave with her aspiring musician boyfriend Willy Jack for California. The couple packed all their belongings into Willy's $80 car with a hole in the passenger seat floor. Despite the car's flaws, Novalee is happy that the license plate contains no 5s. When asked by her friend why it's a big deal, she explains that on her 5th birthday, her mother left her and ran off with a baseball umpire. She adds that when she was a waitress, she had to get 55 stitches on her wrist and elbow after an encounter with a deranged customer. Since then, she's believed that the number 5 brings bad luck. Before leaving, Novalee asks Willy to take a picture of her with her friends using her new camera. However, the inconsiderate Willy presses the shutter before they can pose and smile. Novalee gets in the car, and Willy complains about being late. As they drive off, he throws his cigarette on the spilled fuel on the driveway, starting a fire. On the road, Novalee wishes they could live by the ocean, but Willy says they wouldn't see one in Bakersfield. Still, Novalee envisions watching the sunset with her baby while drinking chocolate milk. Willy, uninterested in Novalee's wishes, throws his half-finished drink through the hole in the floor. Later, when Novalee is snoring loudly, he wakes her up and notices her shoes are missing, and Novalee reasons she took them off because her feet are swollen. When Novalee feels the baby moving, she places Willy's hand on her belly to feel the heartbeat, but he says he doesn't feel anything. When they reach Sequoia, Oklahoma, Novalee points at a Walmart and tells her boyfriend to stop for a bathroom break. Before leaving the car, she requests money to buy slippers. Inside, Novalee passes by Moses Whitecotton, a photographer. When she finally enters the bathroom stall, she sighs loudly, scaring the kid washing her hands in the sink. Later, as Novalee pays for her items at the counter, she notices that her change is $5.55. Horrified, she storms out of the supermarket, only to discover that Willy has already left, leaving only her camera in their parking spot. Abandoned and alone, Novalee sits on the bench and takes a picture of her slippers. Seconds later, Sister Thelma's husband mistakes her for an acquaintance. The pregnant teen tries to correct her, but when she keeps on talking, she decides to go along with it. Before Thelma drives off, she hands Novalee a goodie basket and a buckeye tree that brings good luck. Later, a distraught Novalee returns to Walmart, where she counts her remaining money. While browsing slippers, Moses approaches her and asks if she'd like him to take her mother-child portrait in the future. Before handing over his business card, Moses tells Novalee that she should give her baby a strong name. That evening, a clerk announces that Walmart will close at 9 p.m. Suddenly, Novalee has contractions, prompting her to go to the restroom. With nowhere to go, the pregnant teen decides to stay in the supermarket. Meanwhile, Willy pulls over when he sees Jolene and her broken-down car. Instead of getting help to get her car fixed, the girl says she needs a lift and transfers some stuff onto Willy's trunk. When the supermarket closes, Novalee leaves the restroom and explores the store. After reading a magazine article about exercise during pregnancy, she decides to lift dumbbells in the sports section. Afterwards, she eats cookies and drinks chocolate milk while reading a book. Meanwhile, Jolene realizes that they need to stop for gas. When Willy says his wallet was stolen, Jolene gives him some cash, which he grabs and hides in his pocket. He teases that she can have her money back if she can get it. Jolene leans over and kisses his neck, and as the two are about to get intimate, they are interrupted by the police. During the traffic stop, the police find Jolene's stolen goods in the trunk thinking they're his. When Jolene admits to being underage, Willy realizes he's about to get arrested, so he tries to run, but the police restrain him. The following day, Novalee wakes up to an alarm clock and rushes to the restroom, where she cleans herself up using a shower head. As the Walmart staff arrives, she hides in the closet, and once the store has opened, she heads to a nearby park. Meanwhile, the police officer takes Willy to his cell. Weeks later, Novalee wakes up to 3 alarm clocks. After cleaning herself up, she returns the alarm clocks, shower head, and comforter to their respective shelves. Later, while sitting in the park, she pulls out her notebook and lists her Walmart debts. When Novalee notices that her buckeye tree is dying, she visits the Sequoia Public Library to find information on reviving it. There, she meets Forney, the agitated librarian. As Novalee struggles to read, Forney helps her out. Afterwards, Novalee drops by Thelma's, who invites her to eat lunch with her and Mr. Sprock, her companion. Later, Mr. Sprock plants the buckeye tree in the yard, and Novalee says she'll come by every day to take care of it. That night, as Novalee enters Walmart's back door, a confused Forney sees her, wondering what she's up to. Trying to sleep through the stormy night, Novalee is uneasy from the painful contractions. When she stands up, she sees her water has broken and tries to clean it with paper towels. Struggling with intense pain, Novalee continues to walk to an aisle filled with kitchen equipment, where she falls down to the floor. When she raises her head and sees she's on aisle 5, she quickly crawls to another aisle. As Novalee goes into labor, Forney suddenly breaks through the glass window, just as she passes out. out. The next day, Novalee wakes up in the hospital, where she meets nurse Lexi, who reveals that reporters want to interview her because of her infamous Walmart baby. Concerned that she'll be arrested for living in a Walmart, Novalee wonders if she'll be able to take her baby home despite being broke and unemployed, but Lexi reassures her and brings in the newborn for her to hold. Afterwards, the nurse mentions that Forney had to get stitched up as a result of breaking the glass window to deliver the baby. When Lexi asks for the baby's name, Novalee chooses Americus, a name she believes stands for something. Soon after, a reporter rushes down the corridor to interview Novalee, calling her the Walmart mommy. Novalee reveals in her interview that she lived in the Walmart for 6 weeks and has no idea where the baby's father is. While reading the letters from strangers, most of which are supportive, Novalee comes across one from Midnight, Mississippi that says an unwed pregnancy is a sin. Suddenly, a nurse enters to tell Lexi her child called. Following Lexi's departure, Novalee's estranged mother, Lil, enters the room. Since Lil abandoned her when she was 5 for the baseball umpire, Novalee asks if she's still with him, but her mother waves it off, expressing that she didn't visit her to reminisce about the past. Lil offers to help her daughter find a place, since she has some money. Hearing this, Novalee shares that the Walmart president sent her $500 and a job offer to any Walmart branch in the country. The greedy Lil takes the money and promises to buy the baby's things and will pick them up at 9 a.m. tomorrow. The next day at noon, Novalee realizes that her mother ran away with the $500. Minutes later, Thelma arrives and offers the dejected Novalee a place to stay. In the library, Forney appears anxious as a woman from upstairs calls out and orders him to do something. Novalee and her child arrive unexpectedly to thank the kind librarian for helping her. She then uses Moses' gifted camera to take a picture of Forney holding Americus. While in prison, Willy plays his guitar and writes a song, which makes his cellmate upset enough to throw a book at him. A month later, before Novalee heads to work at Walmart, she looks in the mirror and notices that she's back to her pre-pregnancy weight. Later, Thelma rejects a religious couple from Midnight, Mississippi, who claim they've come to bring the word of God to Americus and the unmarried Novalee. Irate, Thelma shuts the door in their faces. Before going to work, Novalee takes Thelma's truck for repairs at Murray's garage, where she encounters an attractive mechanic. After a month, Novalee is worried that she might be pregnant again, so she follows Lexi's advice and jumps backwards 9 times to prevent it. She then visits Forney's library to read a few books in order to learn more. When she goes to the bathroom, she yells excitedly upon finding out that she's not pregnant. Before Novalee leaves, Forney assumes she's going on a date, but she says she's done dating cocky guys, which makes him hopeful. However, after breaking the news that she's done with dating altogether, he's disappointed. Suddenly, they hear a loud noise upstairs, prompting Forney to head to the 2nd floor. When Novalee follows, she discovers that he's been taking care of his alcoholic sister, Mary Elizabeth, the actual librarian. Later, Novalee hangs out with Forney at a flea market, where she intends to purchase a gift for Thelma and Mr. Sprock. As they walk, he shares that he was 10 years old when their father decided to confine Mary Elizabeth to a sanatorium due to her alcoholism. While he was studying to become a history teacher, his father passed away, forcing him to leave school to care for his sister. Later, after buying an old camera in the market, Novalee takes it to Moses for cleaning. When she sees his photographs, she tells him that she wants to be a photographer. Months later, as Novalee and Forney carry a Christmas tree to the truck, they run into a pregnant Lexi, who says her boyfriend hasn't contacted her since he left. During the car ride, Forney remarks that Americus is exactly 5 months old today. Convinced something terrible has happened, Novalee rushes home, only to find that her child's been abducted. When a cop discovers a Bible in America's crib, Thelma says the Bible isn't hers, but deduces that the religious couple from Mississippi took Americus. Outside the house, Novalee speaks with Forney and believes she's being punished for having a child out of wedlock. A cop car suddenly drives past them, so they rush to follow the vehicle to the church, where she finds Americus lying in the manger. The cop says they were able to catch the religious couple fleeing town, who told them where they'd left Americus. Meanwhile, Willy is released from prison and meets with Ruth Myers, a music producer. The producer appears uninterested as he plays his composition, but eventually proposes that he get a makeover and change his screen name to Billy Shadow. In the following weeks, Willy plays in local bars to mostly uninterested audiences. He calls Ruth to complain about his gigs, but she reminds him that realistically, it'll take 2 to 3 years before he can get his song on the radio. 3 years later, Willy has finally recorded his composition in a studio, and his hit song, Beat of a Heart, plays on radios, including the one in Thelma's home. While Thelma and Americus are singing Willy's song, Novalee, now a photographer, walks in and abruptly turns off the radio, claiming that she is irritated with the guy's voice, unaware that it's Willy. Before Novalee leaves for her wedding shoot, Forney arrives to take care of Americus. Days later, while Novalee is organizing the wedding photos she took, Thelma comes in to warn them of the tornado and asks them to meet her at Rosita's cellar later, after she brings some potato soup to a sick friend. Forney, who's carrying his sister down the stairs, tries to call Novalee, but she's already outside, taking Americus Americus to the storm shelter. While Americus is worried about Thelma, Rosita worries about her husband, who is painting a house on another street. When Novalee goes up to look for Thelma, the hail prompts her to go back in. Determined to find Thelma, Novalee heads out again and witnesses the oncoming tornado. After evading the flying debris, she returns to the cellar, holding tightly to the stairs. Just as she's about to get sucked into the tornado, Rosita grabs her arm. However, Americus tries to walk towards Novalee, losing her stuffed bear in the process. As her daughter gets carried away by the wind, Novalee catches and hugs her tightly. Eventually, the strong wind shuts the cellar door, keeping everyone safe. Days later, a funeral is held for the tornado victims, including Thelma. While surveying the fallen house, Novalee takes a photo of Americus holding the trunk of their buckeye tree. She shows Moses the picture, and he's impressed. The next day, Novalee tells Lexi she plans to move into a trailer home in Poto. Lexi tells her that Forney called to ask if there are any hospital jobs available for Novalee, so she doesn't have to leave. Lexi reveals that Forney is in love with Novalee, but she brushes it off because she thinks they're just friends. When Thelma's lawyer friend Ray arrives, he informs Novalee that Thelma left all of her property and assets to her, including oil stocks from 1909, all amounting to $41,000. In the following days, Novalee uses the money to build a new house with the help of Forney, Mr. Sprock, and some workers. Novalee tells Mr. Sprock that he should have gotten a share of the inheritance, but he laughs it off, saying that the old kitchen table was all he wanted. Meanwhile, Willy asks for help from Johnny DeSoto, a famous musician. However, Johnny warns him not to go against Ruth Myers because she can be his greatest enemy. Later, as Willy waits for the elevator in the hotel, he checks out a woman, unaware that it's Novalee. Novalee is in the hotel to accept her award for winning a photography competition for the picture she took of her daughter. Shortly after accepting the prize, she gives a speech in which she thanks Thelma for taking her and Americus in when they had nowhere else to go. Elsewhere in the hotel, while Willy makes out with a woman, he's shocked to see Ruth waiting for him on his bed. A lawyer had called her, saying that Willy's cellmate originally wrote his song, Beat of a Heart, which Willy strongly denies. As the disappointed Ruth leaves, Willy offers to sleep with her to change her mind, but the woman punches him in response. The next day, as Novalee waits for Lexi to pick her up, she learns that Lexi has been hitting it off with a new guy named Roger, whom she says complimented her beautiful children. When she gets home, Novalee sees Americus and Forney sleeping peacefully on the couch, prompting her to take their picture. The next morning, Novalee answers a strange call from Brownie, one of Lexi's children. In a fit of panic, she rushes to Lexi's house, only to find her bruised up friend in the bedroom. To keep them safe, Novalee decides to let Lexi and her children stay in her house. That night, the tearful Lexi explains that she caught Roger about to take advantage of her children, Praline and Brownie. As Lexi worries about how to explain to her kids what happened, Novalee says to tell them that everyone has meanness inside, but there will always be more goodness in their hearts. The following morning, Mary Elizabeth passes away. Days later, Novalee tracks Forney down to a hotel room when he was absent at the funeral service. He says he'll return to Maine for a few days to bury his sister in the family plot. While Forney mourns, Novalee comforts him with a hug, which eventually leads to a tender kiss. After they make love, he confesses his feelings, but she doesn't respond. The next day, while taking the laundry down, Novalee tells Lexi what happened and reasons that she was scared to answer Forney's declaration of love. Suddenly, their discussion is interrupted by honks coming from Ernie, an exterminator whom Lexi agreed to go on a date with. Later, Novalee is taking a photo of the baseball team when one of them asks if Forney has returned. He then mentions that Forney can finally finish his studies in Maine. That night, Forney returns and invites Novalee to come over to the hotel, where he proclaims his intention to stay in Sequoia with her and Americus. However, Novalee admits that she doesn't love him the same way he does, breaking his heart. Months later, Lexi and Novalee are apartment hunting when Novalee mentions that Forney has been writing to Americus. Exasperated, Lexi calls her friend out for lying about her true feelings for Forney just because she thinks she's not good enough for him. To change the subject, Novalee asks Lexi how things are going with Ernie, and the woman says she thinks they won't work out as a couple. Several months later, Lexi and Ernie get married, and they hire Novalee as their wedding photographer. Later, while Ernie is busy dancing with the kids, the pregnant Lexi tells Novalee that she knew Ernie was the one when he was willing to trade an expensive car to get custody of his adoptive daughter from his ex-wife. In the meantime, an intoxicated Willy and his date stop at a diner. After parking, Willy exits the vehicle and stumbles onto the railroad. After hearing Novalee's voice in his head, he falls down on the tracks, where he sees an oncoming train. Weeks later, America celebrates her 5th birthday. Since Novalee has associated the number with bad luck, she decides not to light the candles. Later, after reading the newspaper, she learns that Willy lost his legs due to a train accident, which prompts her to pay him a visit. In the hospital, Novalee spitefully recounts what happened when Willy abandoned her. Apologetically, he reveals that he lied back when he told her that he couldn't feel the baby's heartbeat. He emphasizes that he did it because he was scared, and adds that the lie grew so big that it changed his entire entire life. He would give anything to get another chance to do everything right. Reflecting on Willy's words, Novalee drives to Maine to see Forney at his university. However, when she spots a woman flirting with him, she thinks it's too late, prompting her to turn around and leave. When Forney sees Novalee, he chases her, worrying that her visit means something happened to her and Americus. To Forney's surprise, Novalee admits that she lied about her feelings before because she thought that he deserved something better. The man assures her that no one could ever be better than her, and they share a passionate kiss. Months later, Novalee and Forney are wed in the place where their love story started, the local Walmart.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.